I was talking to an international oil broker, and he knows a lot of wealthy people. And we were kibitzing over dinner last night. Well, what do you do if you have a lot of money? What do people do with their money? He says, people are just absolutely perplexed. There's no place to put their money. He said he knows one guy that has a boatload of money, and he took it to Europe, I think, and he put it in the bank. And it's costing him money every year to keep the money in the bank. And he's saying, this stinks, but he's afraid to put it anywhere else. You got to put it in real estate? Really? You're going to put it in stocks? Are you kidding? You're going to put it all in gold and silver, and then you're going to have to hire a small army to guard it and protect it? Where can you go? And this is the problem, John. If you have a lot of money, there's no place to go to protect it, invest it, to make it grow, whatever. And people are just wringing their hands all over the world. They're just absolutely wringing their hands. And when their source of income dries up, that got them that money in the first place. Like if you're in the oil business, you lost your income. So that means your wad of cash that's sitting there that you saved over the years, all of a sudden has no means of replenishment. You're just going to watch it go down, down, down as everybody else gets their fingers into it. You buy real estate, you're going to have to pay property taxes. You put it in the bank at negative interest rate, the bank's just going to haircut you every single month. So people are absolutely perplexed. Talk about pressure.
I just bought a new mattress, Pat.
That's right. Does it have a hollow core?
A lot of us are just sort of, the money comes in at the beginning of the month, then goes out by the 10th of the month, and that's pretty much it. And they're complaining that Americans aren't saving for retirement. How? This is something facing the baby boomers and even worse into the Gen Xers. How? Because all of our lives we've been chasing the inflation dragon uphill.
You know, people would do well to go back and listen to all of the Francis Schaeffer videos called How Shall We Then Live? It's a great overview of history. And at the end of his 10th video, he points out where society was going towards a society that people basically just thought things worked by magic. They lost connection with reality, and things just happen as if by magic. And he said politically, the country and the world are going to cry out for a technocrat to run things and basically just be the operational dictator of things. And this is exactly what's happened. He didn't get everything 100% right, but he understood the forces of history that were pushing this towards this direction. So it's not like it should have come on us by surprise, because the God of this world blinds the minds of the unbelieving. Nobody saw it, and they just waltzed happily along the way thinking everything is great. Meanwhile, it's corrupting and falling apart from the inside. And here we are today.
But you know what? God will take us through it. If we are where I think we are, we're moving into this system where an antichrist will be an appropriate appearance.
Oh, yes. This is the most exciting time in history, I think, to live. As a Christian, I say this is exciting times because prophecy really is being fulfilled in this day on a number of different levels. And we get to watch this. If you're in tune with it, you just say, wow, look at that. We have missed this whole idea as Christians study of Bible prophecy. We have missed the whole concept of a system of dictatorship where people are looking, oh, we're going to have a dictator. Well, yeah, there's going to be a figurehead, but the figurehead is not omniscient, nor is he omnipresent. He needs to have a system in place that will allow for the control of every man, woman, and child on the earth. Now, how's that going to happen? When you start studying technocracy, looking at how they're using, call it the science of social engineering, when you look at the system that they're putting in place, John, this is absolutely perfect to fit into Bible prophecy in the book of Revelation.
It's even beyond the elite's control. They just don't recognize that yet.
That's right. I would say they don't recognize it by and large what's happening, even though they have their own short-term goals and their short-term interests and stuff that they're fulfilling. In the end of it, when it comes down to buying and selling and, all of the economic trade and stuff that's taking place in Revelation 17, 18, this is the system that seems to fit perfectly. And I remember years ago, as you probably do too, when the first scanner was introduced into, I think it was Safeway or something. IBM did it. And the first scanner came in, barcodes and all that kind of stuff. And the Christians freaked out. I'm not shopping there. I'm not going there because they might give me the mark of the beast. It's just barcodes. And now barcodes are everywhere. We kind of look back and joke at it. Well, the introduction of barcodes was not the end of the world, nor was it anything particularly to do with Bible prophecy, but people jumped on it and they went nuts over it. And how many things like that has there been since that people have jumped on and gone nuts over? Christians. Oh, that's it. Look, you hear about what happened. And if they saw the big picture, like what's going on with the system of things in the world today, they would say, uh-oh, this is it. The system is the key here. You've got to have everybody in the same system. I think this is one reason why we see this no child left behind, no person left behind in the cashless society. no person left behind. Inclusion is the big buzzword with the United Nations today. They don't want 80% of the people of the world in this system. They want 100% of the people. This is key. You have to have them all in the system if you're going to manage the whole world. You can't have 20% of them running around like Mad Max movies.
Even when you have successful, and I've seen this in education, when you have successful alternative education systems, the big system moves in to stop that. It's not looking at whether they were successful or not. It's simply bothered because they're dissenting and they're actually doing better than the mainline system. You see this in healthcare. In other words, the standard of care. Patient can die, but don't worry, doctor. You gave them the standard of care. You could have done something to save them, but...
That's right. You work the system. And I'll say again, I have a very definite sense of mind that the inmates have escaped and have taken over the asylum. There was a movie somewhere way back when, you probably know what it is, that used that term, that the inmates of the insane asylum took over the asylum and everybody thought that they were the normal people. And they really weren't. They were crazier to March hare.
Yeah, the movie was a classic comedy called King of Hearts.
But you have these people that are talking to us, these scientists and engineers, how serious they're talking to us about, science this and science that, whether it's global warming or anything else. They look so intelligent. They've got their ties on, they've got their lab coats on, whatever it is. And yet you turn around and you find little cracks in this whole thing. Like there's 2 scientists at Columbia University right now. They've got a grant from some government agency. These 2 scientists are working on an algorithm that will allow the Earth to be cloaked from evil aliens that might want to do us harm. Now, this is the disconnect, John. What on earth are you doing?
Wait a minute, you're missing the possibilities here. Start writing the script for the screenplay.
I guess that's where the money is, but these people want you to think that they are the serious thinkers and that they know what's best for the world, and it's going to be a scientific world. This was what technocracy was all about. And then you see stuff like this come out. It's just like whacked.
Yeah, Pat, or they know something that we don't know, and it's about time we do a show on UFOs here and what the latest is, believe it or not. It seems to be coming up in the background of even some of the presidential campaigns. But notice,
the ethics and morals are disconnected, and the moral system of the new technocracy is utilitarianism, which makes the human a cog in the wheel to the system, rather than, see, the way we're flipping over, saying that humans are the value and the system supports them. It's flipping to the other side, and most people aren't aware that the flip's actually occurring. They can't even see it.
That's right. I'd sure like to tell them, though.
Now, anyway, Pat, what I've got to run here, your website, and any closing thoughts?
Well, hey, yeah, technocracy.news is where you can go to find out about technocracy if you want to. There's a lot to it. I continue to use the word because it is the word that needs to be used, and it's been picked up by the United Nations and the Trilateral Commission and things like that. You can't really understand it, I'll tell you honestly, until you read my book, Technocracy Rising. And I don't mean to be self-promoting on it, but it is the only book right now in circulation anywhere that deals with historic technocracy and brings it into the current vernacular today. It's not expensive. It's not a long read, but you need to read it if you really want to understand it. And so don't think that just because you listen to John and I for an hour on the radio that you get it all of a sudden, that it makes sense. No, read the book, spend a day or 2 curled up in front of a fireplace or whatever, or go out on the lake and read it, absorb it, whatever, and then think through the issues again, and you'll see things in a lot different light. The dots will be connected for you.
Pat Wood, got to push it to the wall here. We're out of time. Do remember, if you would, coming up next for online listeners, steelonsteel.com, our weekly intelligence